Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
This is really Thin Red Line, 1998. Terrence Malick. Probably the best war movie I've ever seen. Another great experience as a film buff. Enough time had passed between me watching this flick, and since then, and you have to know a little bit of the time that this movie came out in. You had Thin Red Line, and you had Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. I saw Private Ryan about 5 times in theaters, and it just shook me up. I could not get enough of it. But then Harvey Weinstein does this Oscar campaign, and I'm buying like as many of the trades as I can in local bookstores, and I believe there was even a like a newspaper stand that I could drive to real quick in Philadelphia. I forget what part. I want to say Center City, but there I could get Variety and the Hollywood Reporter. My local Barnes & Noble would only have Variety, and only a few issues, so you would have to kind of get there early. But I was just reading a ton of Hollywood trades at the time, and you just would see these articles about Saving Private Ryan not having a good third act, and the third act was formulaic, and the third act was like too Hollywood and didn't stay true to what unfolded later in that movie. So traditionally you would get Act 1, set everything up. Act 2 is the plot gets set in motion. Act 3 is the resolution. So it was like all of this stuff, and at the time I was like programmed. So like I turned against Saving Private Ryan. My adult life and all these other things happen around me. The internet spurs up, and Saving Private Ryan like returns back to center for me, which is I'm so grateful for that, because I do view that as one of the best war movies. Right, it might be number 2 after the Thin Red Line, but I still view Saving Private Ryan as a Hollywood movie where it's just like louder, there's more action, like it's more even at the time, Saving Private Ryan, very experimental with its editing, but it was just a Hollywood movie. But it was a Hollywood movie at its absolute height. The blockbuster era that was created by Spielberg and Lucas, I think comes to fruition. It comes to absolute meaning with Saving Private Ryan, because it stems to Star Wars, it stems to Jaws. But then its counterpart, Terrence Malick, comes back, and you can read this in the first couple lines of Wikipedia. He comes back from a 20-year absence in American filmmaking, and within that time, he comes with this war movie, and the list of people involved with this war movie, it is insane. It really is. I mean, we get. I'm looking at the movie poster here. Sean Penn, Adrian Brody, Jim Caviezel. Now, keep in mind, Adrian Brody and Jim Caviezel were not quite Adrian Brody and Jim Caviezel yet. Ben Chaplin, George Clooney, John Cusack, Woody Harrelson, Ilias Kostas, who I love, Nick Nolte, John C. Reilly, John Travolta, and there's other people too. In the backgrounds and stuff, I believe, right? It isn't is Jared Leto in this? Jared Leto might be in this movie. I'm not 100%, but there's just every single frame, you're just full of notable actors. You can count the Oscars from frame to frame in this movie. So the Academy Awards is rolling around. I had only seen Thin Red Line twice in theaters. I told you I spent all of my money on Saving Private Ryan. I saw Thin Red Line twice. I remember, like, it was like both of them were like dates. I took girls to see this movie. That's how much of a dork I was back then. God bless any girl that tolerated that as a dateable movie, like, as a date movie selection. But Thin Red Line if there is ever a movie that is the spirit of war and the beauty of it, this is a beautiful movie. And it is in one of the most horrific conflict anyone could ever imagine, WW2. That's what this movie is. This movie has a lush air to it, where time slows down, where nature and the unknown that's around us every single day is expressed through narration. Isn't that wild? We have a lot of voiceover in this. Now, Terrence Malick, as a filmmaker, as a film genius, he uses a lot of the groundwork that we see in this movie in future films. On this podcast, it's my experience with film and you guys. I've been leaning on Terrence Malick for a little bit. I've been watching a lot of his movies, and I've been recording episodes. So we do have a Terrence Malick deluge coming. It's an avalanche. These will be 8 p.m. drops moving forward. Now, we still have a lot of other things to get through. We do a lot of themes on this channel, but Terrence Malick is one of our highlights for 2025. And the reason for that is I got into some of his later movies. If you need to know what those are, let me tell you real quick. Because he makes movies with everybody. The Hidden Life, Song to Song, Voyage of Time, Knight of Cups, To the Wonder, The Tree of Life, The New World. And a lot of this stems from 2005, The New World, which is his Pocahontas John Smith live action. Now, previously from The Thin Red Line, 1978, he did a movie called Days of Heaven, and he does another movie called Badlands. This is his filmography. He's got a to be announced The Way of the Wind. I will be there for that. So I'm hoping by the time The Way of the Wind drops, we will have a near complete Terrence Malick filmography available on the AKAPAD Film Buff podcast. So when it comes to, wow, look, even like Mickey Rourke, Bill Pullman, like cut footage. Isn't that crazy? Luke Haas, cut footage. And outtakes that the film was scored by Hans Zimmer. So I'm just reading some of the Wikipedia. Thin Red Line, on a budget of $50 million, I believe it made around $100 million. So it doubled its money. But what really makes this movie substantial? Terrence is able to tell this level of narrative, and it's the beginning of him doing non-linear storytelling. But his films are experiences. His films are you're entering into like another world, very similar than what you would with like a Star Wars movie or a science fiction movie. He's showing you another universe, but it's tangible, because in this case we're in the Second World War. We're in Guadalcanal, which is one of the most brutal theaters of war in the Pacific that you can imagine. And we're dealing with young men and old commanders and old generals sending these individuals into horrific scenarios. There's like rolling hill sequence in this movie that I absolutely love, where it's just there, like you're in the high grass, and then it's like all hell breaks loose, and there's just a level of like you have to run, like it's just like this level that he portrays that anyone can die in any second, and some of these commanders are telling their friends that you have to run, like you have to run over that hill or you're going to die. This is a tough movie to pinpoint the performances. It really is, because there's no central character. Like Jim Caviezel, a little bit, he kind of falls, does a little bit of a Apocalypse Now move where he falls in with the local tribe, with the local earthly of nature tribe. A little bit of a movie trope, but it's sufficient here. So going back to my time with this movie, so the Oscars roll around, and I just want to like bring this home. The Oscars roll around, and I'm thinking, like, this movie now, which has nominations up to wazoo, it's 7 to 8 nominations. It gets nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Original Dramatic Score, and Best Sound. And like even the Best Sound, you're just, like I said, like the high grass hill scene. You'll know it when you see it. And along the way, like it's been nominated for every single type of other film contests: Golden Reel Awards, Directors Guild, New York Film Critics Circle Awards, Online Film Critics Society. I mean, it's nominated for everything. But you kind of get this idea that Thin Red Line can overtake Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan was the juggernaut, but then we get this ad campaign. We get this editorial campaign by Harvey Weinstein, and he effectively dispels notions of why Saving Private Ryan is one of the greatest, or the greatest movie of all time. So I was fully aware of this. I'm like, wow, all of this really leaves everything open for the Thin Red Line. And Steven Spielberg, Saving Private Ryan, the Oscars is all over that year, but Private Ryan doesn't become a every single category winner. Tom Hanks doesn't get Best Actor, but we have like movies like Atonement doing some damage, but everything's all over the place. And then we get Shakespeare in Love, literally out of nowhere, that steals Best Picture. And it's one of the absolute Oscar fallacies. If there's ever one that should be taken back and retconned, it should be that. So that year, I would have said, I would have been very into Saving Private Ryan winning, even though me thinking I'm intelligent would have went around saying and repeating what I saw in articles, that it doesn't have a third act and people should learn to watch movies. I'm still learning to watch movies, by the way. But Thin Red Line should have won, should have been the winner. But now, you go around saying Thin Red Line should have won, or Saving Private Ryan should have won. And that's how much of a shock Shakespeare in Love winning. And that's how much of a shock Thin Red Line not getting more of a, some of that Oscar gold. Because, even down to the music with Hans Zimmer, Oscar level stuff here, the late 90s, potentially the most competitive time for the Oscars in American films. So you get a lot of this stuff. You get a lot of every film deserved something. I think for that year, I think for that era, I think leading into everything now, seeing how war movies are portrayed now, they're more, gimmick films. What's that 1917 movie where it's like a guy running the entire time, and we have a broken time frame in Dunkirk. I did like Midway, by the way. I think that's a Roland Emmerich movie. Midway, it's a straight through movie. Give that to me. Just give me a straight through narrative war movie. I'm in. This type of filmmaking, though, I think ends with a certain time and absolutely ends with a certain level of filmmaker. Terrence Malick is fascinating because his technique, his style, what he produces, it's hard to define. And I look a lot of this as a product. This is potentially what you can say a metaphysical war movie. It's a philosophical war movie. It's a war movie of the mind, of what happens to the human spirit and how the mind perceives that. It's deeper than deep, but it's all well earned. It's all legit. This is, like, honestly, God, AK Powders. If there is a movie that I would sit people down, and it's like, hey, like, we gotta watch this and discuss what it means to you. I'm curious of what this movie means to anyone that watches it. And for me, Saving Private Ryan isn't quite that, because things are literal and spelled out. And a lot of times, I take the position of things are loosey-goosey in films. I move against it, because I believe films should have a narrative. I believe films, because that we're talking product here, we're not talking art. They have to be a good product. So good products needs resolutions and things like that. And I do realize this is a very, very uncommon position from any type of film buff or film critic. But the thin red line, it elevates it, because it becomes that excuse for myself, even for a recommendation. I really, just experiencing this movie recently made me love it all over again. And that's a true sign of greatness.
Okay, that's a wrap.